So I'm going to quickly explain the whole dead internet theory, and I'll get into my actual topic in hand. So, in case you don't know what dead internet theory is, I'll just explain to you simply. So, this is the idea that at some point in time, we'll have the internet which will be full of basically bots or not real people talking to each other. And in some cases, I kind of think we are actually getting kind of close to that stage. In the sense, if you consider, as quite a good example, we got AI slop, that kind of stuff all over the place. AI videos, AI political things, AI things. That itself, in some cases, you could argue is going to get us to the so-called dead internet theory, which will eventually make things quite likely get worse. But one of the things else I thought would be worth talking about, which I found kind of interesting, is I've seen this play out many times in the past or present alike. You basically have a site itself that gets quite big or gets busier than it originally starts off, then always new rules come in place. That basically means you can't say certain things because that certain thing may offend someone for reasons that often don't make any sense. So let's use a simple example to show you how this can play out and destroy many forums, news sites, or anything else with regard to over moderation regarding what exactly you post, what exactly you say. So let's make it simple. We run a tech forum. We've got starting with 1,000 members who talk about anything regarding computers. So, for example, we talk about Dells, they talk about Toshibas, talk about Windows operating systems, Linux, Apple, Android, everything else as well. Over time, they then introduce new rules, which basically means certain things kind of become a bad word. So, for example, purposes, to make a bit of a silly example, but I would not be surprised if that does happen, we make the word Dell be seen as a bad word. For some reason, the people decide that because they don't like Dell computers, Dell is now a bad word. So if you make the Dell comment or Dell message about it, then you're put in a warning list, you get a warning. If you say it 2 or 3 times, then you get banned. This again is what happens when you have sort of over moderation with regard to posting anything, and that is what I find often destroys a site. To give one of the most extreme examples I've seen this happen to would be kind of Black Hat Forum. Black Hat Forum, in case you don't know, I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson into it, and then we'll get into that one and also other sites in general. So, Black Hat Forum, what made Black Hat Forum very cool in the past 14 or 15 years, depending how I take the concept of the age of it, what made Black Hat Forum cool or smart was you were able to talk about anything, basically. That's what made it cool. Anything about search engine optimization, anything about software, anything about e-commerce, anything in general. So you'd have, because you had such a free speech perspective in place, you could have all the best people. You could have the best from India, best from Italy, best from America, best from Canada. You'd have kind of all the best people. But because over time when it got sold, I think we're on like a 3rd or 4th one if I remember correctly now, because of it getting sold all the time, this over moderation basically destroyed the site. And it didn't help much when I used to use it, is anything you do or say can be considered bad or good at any moment. So for example, purposes, one minute I say something, they say, that's okay, so, okay, I know the rules now. Then next minute it's bad. If you have a system like that in place where everything's like so unstable, you can't really run a successful online business, and you eventually destroy it, which basically has happened now because of over moderation. Another thing which went wrong, which can go wrong in any business, is they seem to always want to ban people, which I always thought was really weird, who actually spend the money. And if you ban the people who spend the money, then your whole system of making money is like, is you just sell signatures. Now, I think it's perfectly fine. I mean, if you want to sell your signatures for I'm going to say $50 or $100, whatever you want, that's cool. I got no issue with that. But if your business as a whole is only based on making money from selling signatures because you banned everything else, it's not really a business anymore. It's just really a selling signature site, to be blunt. And it doesn't help as well is because of how extreme it all got, is any single thing can be considered bad, wrong, depending on the moment of time. Because to give you a good example was, someone basically said he had a problem with online security, so I offered to fix it. I just explained how to fix it, and then I got a weird warning from someone saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have told them that." So I said, "Okay, so what exactly rule did I break?" They said, "Oh, you broke this rule." I said, "I've read that rule. I don't get it. Can you please explain to me?" You read it again. I said, I still don't get it. Can you please give me more information? This is again what happens when you have so many rules in place, they don't make any sense. Now, I did actually, for curiosity, I actually did ask one of my friends who is a legit Mensa member, and I said to him, do these rules make any sense to you? Do you think these rules are good, these are sensible, these are smart? And he said, honestly, I've got absolutely no idea what any of these mean. I said, yeah, I'm the same. And that's again what happens when you have rules which are too extreme. I mean, use a simple rule. We can kind of all probably relate to a certain degree. If you make a rule saying you're not allowed to kick balls in a park, that is easy to follow. You don't have to be a genius to work it out, that's simple. But when you have rules which are so extreme, this is where we have a problem with regard to rule as a whole. If no one gets a rule, then how exactly can you enforce it, or how exactly can you expect everyone to get it? I mean, it's like, for example, going back to park idea, it's like basically saying, to use this park, we're only going to accept people who've got one black shoe, one blue shoe on all the time. If you've got anything outside of that, you're not in the park. You've also only allowed to wear a green t-shirt with black trousers and a pink hat. If you wear anything outside of it, you're not in the park. That's kind of sort of a way I kind of consider it went, except obviously much more extreme. Because if you put in place rules which make no sense, which I don't think most of them did, then you can't have a functional site. Because what made Black Hat Forum really good in the past was, getting back to the people you used to have, you had always incredibly smart men and women. You had smart men from Asia, smart women from Africa. You had smart people everywhere. You had very talented people. You had smart coders, smart engineers in both the website perspective and also engineering in general. Say people great at buildings, people great at e-commerce, people great in jewelry. You had always incredibly smart people, but because of this obsession to ban people for basically anything, you always sort of found the site kind of went downhill. And that's why I kind of say, if you're going to run any site, small scale, big scale, you have to try and make it as open as possible. Because one of the groups I'm on, or a site I'm on, I'm not going to say what it is, but it doesn't really matter for this video, we can talk about anything. I mean, for example, if someone wants to be a weeb, I think that's fine. I'm not into that sort of stuff, but if someone wants to be a weeb, you love Japanese stuff, food, video games, manga, all that kind of stuff, that's cool. Do what makes you happy. But either way, the person's allowed to talk about weeb stuff, which I think's fine. The same with everyone else is allowed to talk about things they want. Music, history, politics, anything else. If you're going to have a free, open environment where you can talk about anything, that itself can make many good conversations happen. I mean, for example, I'll give you a good example. Now, please note, I don't blame the person for what's happened to me, but I'm still grateful that the person suggested that I, instead of basically buying more Raspberry Pis, in the chat we had, the chat went down and says, you do realize you're paying a lot of money for Raspberry Pis, you can get things cheaper. And I thought, so, yeah, I think, wasn't too sure what you were saying at first, but he's right. So I ended up to, just hoping you can see it's okay, I'll just go get it. Hope you can see it's okay. So this is a gigabyte hard drive. So I got that computer. This itself runs on Debian Linux. Now you could run, if you want to, Windows or another one. I'm not telling you to say you have to use Debian. That's your choice. But I ended up getting that computer because of the chats we had. Because we had a free and open chat, I was able to learn, there is other options than, simply relying on Raspberry Pis for mini computers. I got into quite an interesting chat with both an American, a Canadian, and also, I think if I remember correctly, it was a German as well. So we had a great chat. That great chat allowed me to reevaluate what type of mini computers I can get. So that's why I ended up with this, and I'm really happy with it, I have to admit. For a cheap computer of like $225, if I remember correctly, I'm very happy with it. I'd be quite happy paying £300, or to use American money, say $320. Very nice computer. I like the little button in it. It was just white. I think it's beautiful. It's not had give me any issues. I've been using it for a few months. But again, the reason I learned this sort of thing and changed my thinking was we had an open chat. But if we ban people from talking about things, then we can't have these chats. We can't have fairness, because I mean, for example, I'll be fair, I thought at first they were both wrong, because again, I never looked into it and I was wrong. But because they explained to me I was wrong, I can then say, I need to try other things, which again, I'm very grateful for discussions. But again, if you block things so much, you can't have these open discussions. Whether it's open discussion about politics, whether it's open discussion about music, history, computers, or anything else. I mean, to give you a good example for this. So this is a Nintendo Switch 1, in case you don't know. So I'm of the opinion, like quite a lot of people, I know a lot of people bought Switch 2. If you want to buy a Switch 2, cool, no complaints, that's your choice. But one of the things I would agree with what a lot of people have said, which I think is still the case, was they basically put forward the argument that Nintendo Switch itself is too expensive for what you're getting compared to with Steam Deck, which I would kind of agree. If you want to get Switch 2, that's cool, but I'm of the opinion a Steam Deck is cheaper and it is probably a better option. Another reason as well, which really sort of heated this debate between Nintendo and other people, was they basically made it a policy, so if you do anything to modify the software, they can shut it down for you, which is incredibly unfair. And if you have a policy in place like that, where they can shut it down when they feel like it, then you don't own it, you're just renting it. If you buy something, I'm of the opinion you should be able to do whatever you want with it. I mean, just going back to this, I mean, if for some dumb reason I decide I want to punch it, I should have the right to do it. Even though it's stupid, I still should have the right. If I decide I don't want to have Debian 13, I want to have, say, instead Pop Linux or something else, I should have the rights to do it. I'm of the opinion when you buy anything, you should be able to do whatever you want to. As long as you're not hurting people, do what you want with it. I mean, if I want the colour as blue for some reason, I can do it. Or green, black, pink, whatever, it doesn't matter. But again, you have to have the freedoms to be able to say things. You have to have the freedoms to be able to discuss things, whether it's discussing computers, whether it's discussing tech, cleaning products, anything you're into. It doesn't matter, knitting or fashion. I mean, I'm not really into fashion, but again, I'm of opinion if people want to discuss it, should be able to. If people want to discuss what's the latest brand, I think that's cool. This is where I kind of go back to the whole theory of a dead internet, because if you have something which is so heavily monitored that only people are allowed to talk on a bot, then how exactly can we learn things if we're just having bot talk to bot? I mean, bot A says product A is good, bot B says it's bad, and then they have a bot argument sort of thing going on. That is why in general I think with regard to this whole AI slop stuff, I mean, yeah, artificial intelligence can make beautiful things. Artificial intelligence can be cool, I don't dispute that. But either way, you still have to have the ability to say what you think. Even people say that's one or wrong, I hate you or I love you, it doesn't really matter. You still have to have the ability to say that. And just going back to this thing, the reason I was able to learn that was I had a discussion. I listened to what they said and I agreed with what they said. They said I would be better off getting another computer rather than outside of Raspberry Pi. It doesn't mean I'm now against Raspberry Pi or something like that, but because I listened to what they said and I was willing to accept it and we had a discussion, I was able to learn and say, wait, these three guys are right, which I'm now grateful to the American, the Canadian, the German, and however many other people helped me make that decision. But again, this comes back to being able to freely discuss, whether it's discussing computers, whether it's discussing things about politics, music, history, whatever you're into, it doesn't matter. If you're into, for example, you love, say, toy airplanes, that's cool, or cars, or Lego, or anything else, that's fine. But in general, you have to have the ability to do it, whether it's on a forum, a news site, anything else, you have to have the ability to talk. Now, if something is legitly illegal, let's just say something is 100% illegal, then I think it's fine, within reason, if it gets removed. So, for example purposes, if someone is trying to explain how exactly to take it extreme, how exactly to commit a crime, and it gives you a guide to it, then I think in some cases that could be a good idea for taking off the internet or taking off the site if they feel that's necessary. But I'm still of the opinion, even though I think that can be good, that they still should have the right to say it. They should have the right, whether it's good, bad, dumb, smart, whatever it may be, they have to have the right to be able to say that. If you want things to get better, you have to be able to debate things, because even the argument of right and wrong, right and wrong itself can be determined by anyone. So you can't really determine in a lot of cases what's 100% right, what's 100% evil. In a lot of cases, it kind of goes back to our perspective of what we consider as good or bad. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Hope you have a good day and a good weekend, or if you watch it next week, have a good week. And thank you, and bye.